Okay, we're on.
Hey, thanks for having me, Matt. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah.
So tell me, tell everybody your name and then tell them your position now.
Sure. I'm Washington State Representative Leonard Christian, and I represent the 4th District, which is basically, well, a lot of people call it Western Idaho. Basically Highway 2 to the Idaho border, all the way up to the county line. And Matt, I think you live just a hair out of my district by maybe a block or two.
Still support you though.
I appreciate that. And a great sign location, by the way.
It's a great
I
sign
appreciate
location.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had a sign up here a couple of times.
Yep.
So what's your day to day like with your job? What do you do mostly?
Oh, so, well, there's that two parts of that. So there's, of course, the state representative side, and then there's also my realtor side.
Yeah.
So just, I guess, quick brief background for me. I got married 9 days after graduating high school, graduated Ferris up on the South Hill, and joined the Air Force 2 weeks later. And so left Spokane, obviously, in the Air Force. My duty station first was in Tacoma, McCord there, and then did other duty stations around the world, actually. And then when I retired from the Air Force in 2005, I came back here and started real estate right away, and just basically residential from a company that was called Thomas & Black. I think some people may have remembered them.
My mom used to work there, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a while ago. And then moved on from that to another company and then another company. So the reality is I enjoy real estate, but kind of got involved early on. I think around 2008, I went to a county convention for the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And I was so frustrated about what was going on at the time. It was a Ron Paul movement. And somebody came up to me and handed me a list and says, only vote for these people. And I go, I don't know any of them, and I don't think that's the way it's going to go. I'd rather kind of talk to them and see if I want to vote for them. And
Make your own decision.
Make my own decision, right? Yeah, instead of getting a list handed to me, and it didn't work out well. So that ended up getting me more involved in politics, and over the years, and became a district leader and a precinct committee officer, and then eventually, I was in 2014. I was appointed to the legislature, which to do this job that I'm doing right now, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
It was interesting because I got told on Thursday that I was appointed, and I had to show up on Monday and start in Olympia. So not only did you have to find a place to stay, you're putting your real estate career on hold and starting a new life in Olympia pretty quickly. And finding a place to stay was the hardest thing. I think we found a hotel that put us up the first week, and then it just kept going crazy after that until we finally landed on an RV in a nice place, which worked out okay for the remainder of the time there. But I remember the first, luckily I had the gentleman who retired allowed me to hire his legislative aide who knew what was going on. And so I remember the first day I'd been on probably my 6th cup of coffee, in my 3rd meeting, he'd show up at the door and take me to the next meeting. And I'm like, dude, I got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And he's going, you can walk out of those meetings and come back in. I'm like, now you tell me. Oh, I was dying.
Yeah, when you're new, like
you don't know.
You're on a learning curve, and it's the same with our industry. We do big events, and people feel like they have to sit there for the whole thing, and it's like, you're a grown up. If you need to step out, step out and
do what you need to do. Answer phone.
Call.
Do what you need to do.
Yeah, we like to tell our loan officers, at our success events, we call them like, today you're working on your business, not in your business. So we prefer everybody shut down and work on it. But we know that in real estate, as you know, it's important sometimes to
you got a phone call you got to make, right?
Sometimes
it just has to happen.
Yep.
No, I enjoyed my real estate career. In fact, I'm still a realtor. I still use you as a lender, actually.
Yeah.
So I enjoy
Appreciate
working with you, Matt. And I think the one thing I really enjoy working with you is that when you say it's going to close, I know it's going to close on time.
Well, and we're both honest guys. Like the first-time buyers in some of those programs, neither one of us, you or I, at this point in our careers, have to do the smaller loans and the down payment subsidy programs and the disability loans. We choose to do them because real estate is about giving back and helping. Yep,
absolutely.
Helping everybody. And anymore, with a lot of the younger people coming into the industry, it's just about a commission. And that part's making it hard for me, because it's like, you should be cutting your teeth on some of these things that aren't big commissions, and you should be helping people and learning these programs. But it's like, if it's not going to make me a lot of money, I don't want to do it.
Right. Yeah, and that's just it. I was lucky being retired Air Force. I don't have to make money. So I've got my retirement and my medical, dental, and all those things taken care of. So, real estate allows me to buy all the fun things and toys and do the things in life that make life more rich.
Well, you manage your money and your debts well. Like,
Yeah.
you could have.
Could do a lot differently, but
Yeah.
like my house payments are, I think, around $1,100 a month, and it's a very nice house.
Anymore, like, I mean, you buy a $300,000 house in Hilliard and you got a
Yep.
$2,600, $2,700 payment.
Yeah.
It's with the high interest rates, it's pretty crazy.
And I think I'm at 2.1, I think, on my loan. So it's like kind of it's kind of a joke. And now with, the interest rates are a little over 7, I believe.
Yeah, pushing 8.
So, yeah, pushing 8.
Yeah, I mean, depending on credit and program, but it's necessary right now.
It is.
Like
it really is.
I think, and you can help speak to this too. Like, I think a lot of people think like the Federal Reserve is somehow like a government agency. It's really not.
It's not. Yeah.
It's. I mean, I guess you could maybe call it government sponsored, or it was created by the government, and they might have some influence there.
Yeah, I was going to say government influenced is probably the better way to say it, but yet still a private organization.
And they're going to keep raising rates until people stop spending money.
Yep.
It's so simple sometimes for me anyway. I mean, I know there's a lot more to inflation than that, but when people ask like a simple explanation, it's like as soon as America stops spending money, what, $1 trillion in credit card debt right now? As
Yeah.
soon as you stop spending money, then inflation can come down. But something bad has to happen. We need unemployment. We need more unemployment. We need something bad to happen, I think, to right the ship. Would you agree with that?
I do, and I think the challenge is because then a lot of folks who are not prepared for it suffer pretty significantly. The folks are living paycheck to paycheck. When the rates go up, when credit card bills go up, they suffer the most. Which is difficult. The folks who have money, it's actually a boon for them. They're just going to make more money.
Well, 2020 was that way.
Yeah.
The rich got richer.
Yeah, the
in
rich get richer,
2020.
the poor get poorer.
Yeah.
The divide goes on, and I mean it's tough. But at the same token, you got to understand you're managing the entire economy of a country. You're not just managing, a business. Let's say.
Or for a certain demographic or a certain group of people, you have to think about everybody, right?
Yeah, you have to think about everybody and how that will affect, the overall value of that dollar, which has been sinking significantly. Honestly, for the last 10 years, it's been fairly significantly sinking. Your buying power, in other words, has been challenging. Yeah.
Well, Washington had a kind of not a mass exodus, but a lot of people left this side of the state to go to Idaho.
And Idaho's building pretty good to make up for it. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, and North Idaho, my fear there is like infrastructure. Like how many more houses can they build? The schools, I think we started to see some of the North Idaho schools go down a bit.
Yeah.
As far as grading and test scores, because when it's just like anything, when it grows, you're going to have growing pains. You don't have enough teachers, you don't have enough places to put the students, too big of classes, something. But water, waste management, there's a lot of stuff like a little town like Post Falls wasn't ready for.
Right. Well, and even us with the I-90, 2 lanes. I mean,
One highway. You tell people from California
Yeah.
that, and they're like, "You only got one freeway," and you're like, "Well, they're building another one, but they've been doing that since 56 or something."
Yeah, I was at the ribbon cutting yesterday for the new section from Wellesley on up north, and
Nice.
pretty exciting to see that additional freeway opened up. Honestly, but we've been talking about that for so many years, and I just hope it'll be done by the time my Hearst is ready to go down it.
Yeah, I think they need state help and they need federal help.
Yep.
I don't think they're going to do it with a local gas tax or something like that.
Well, luckily, Inslee, when I started last year into legislature, Inslee announced that he was going to delay it for 6 more years. So if you don't think that didn't fire me up, that fired us, all of us up actually, and even the Democrats in the 3rd got quite upset, and we all signed a letter and started working and pushing really hard and talking about it every time we got a chance. And actually, Spokane, I'm so proud of Spokane. They actually flooded not only the chair of the transportation, Mr. Fye there, but also the Governor Inslee's office was flooded with emails and voicemails. It's just amazing. He's like, I'd never been in this position before, but Inslee actually asked me to come and sit in his office. And his first question was, how do I get people to stop calling me on this north-south freeway? It's like, well, this is not real brain surgery here. Just say you announce you're going to restore the funding and it's over with.
Yeah, kick in. That's what we need.
That's all we needed. Yeah. And he's like, that's it. And I'm going, yeah, it's not real hard. And so within a couple of days, he announced that the freeway funding would be part of this year's budget, 2023.
That's what they needed.
Yeah, that's what they needed. They needed a good outpouring from not only the community, but us working together to make it clear that we're not going to tolerate having a freeway just sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah.
So
it was supposed to be done when I was in 2003, like my first year in lending, and I'd been in titles 6-7 years prior to that. I got in real estate in '97, but in 2003, my first year in lending, I sat in a meeting, kind of a state meeting that was here that talked about the North-South Freeway, and they said it would be done by 2025.
Yeah.
Which we're not going to be done.
No,
by
not even close. They announced yesterday that we should have the next section open within about 2 years, so that'd be nice. But talking about it, I went back and my leadership didn't enjoy the fact that I was going to run a bill that declared that area there next to the community college a monument to Inslee because it was useless for anything else. Because at this time, they were going to stop the freeway funding. I'm like, well, I'm going to declare it a monument to Inslee. I'll even pay for the sign to go on it. It was just kind of a comic, unfinished business that we spent a lot of money on as a state. Would be perfect, for his legacy. They didn't think it was funny. They thought it'd get me in a lot of trouble, so I just kind of smiled and held it back. But it was one of my fun, motivated moments in the legislature.
It's interesting the people that don't follow anything in their community that just kind of wake up, go to work, didn't understand why are they buying all those houses along the freeway, down by Freya. Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Even if you were buying real estate, and you were buying maybe down by the community college. I used to own a house by Chief Gary Park. And I remember when they started talking about, we're going to start this section. It took many years after we sold before they did. Yeah. But I kind of told my wife at the time, I said, we should probably sell. We'll sell this house and we'll go somewhere else because like 3 blocks from here, there's going to be an elevated freeway.
Well, people don't understand, they kind of think, well, yeah, the North-South Freeway, that'd be great. Maybe it'd cut down our, commute a little bit. But the reality is that North-South Freeway will change Spokane because it'll open up so much land up north for more housing, as you can see around Costco up north being a lot of housing coming in there. But we'll start seeing everything all the way up to Deer Park all of a sudden start growth. And it's because of that North-South Freeway. Because right now, to get to downtown Spokane, it's a good 30, 40 minutes.
On a good day.
On a good day. And once that freeway's up and going and connecting, it'll be a 20-minute drive, if that, to Deer Park, which will significantly grow Deer Park as well. So the actual, community will change significantly once that's connected.
It'll be obsolete by the time it's done.
Oh, probably.
It won't handle that. My dad built roads, and they always said that about Spokane. He goes, Spokane's problem is they can't make the roads any wider. Yeah. That's why we started turning into all these one-ways everywhere. Yeah. Because it made it easier to flow traffic that way, which is fine. But I know people that come here from other areas get confused, especially downtown.
Oh, yeah.
Because like every street downtown, almost all of them are one-ways.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, Idaho decided they wanted to do 3 lanes from the border all the way to Coeur d'Alene, and they're already working on it and approved it. Washington will talk about it for 20 years.
And not do it.
Yeah. And it'd be so easy to go from Barker on out to the border. It's not that far. And to connect in with Idaho to Coeur d'Alene, it would really vastly change. And of course, we're talking about that every time I meet with Todd, who's our new DOT for our area. He just smiles and goes, "Yeah, we have those conversations, but the money's not there. We got to finish North-South Freeway first." So there's no forethought, no vision of the future for Spokane. We'll deal with what we got to at the moment, but we're not willing to think about the future either.
And people are getting tired of the other side of the state too. So a lot of people are coming this way from Portland. I mean, we see that in real estate. Portland, California, Seattle, wanting to retire here. And it's almost turning into I can't retire in Seattle. I can't afford it. Yeah. California, I was in San Diego golfing this winter, and there was a few guys that had quite a bit of money. And I played a couple nice courses, and they're like, hey, do you live here? You have that conversation. They go, yeah, but I can't stay here. I'm going to have to go somewhere else when I retire because I won't have enough money to retire here. It's too expensive. So we're going to have to move. And I think Spokane's a good I guess, spot for that in Washington State anyway.
It is for now, but I'm concerned that it might end up changing.
Yeah.
I mean, the good thing for us is we have, we're so close to the border. You can go across there and save $1 a gallon on fuel. You can, there's a lot of the labor that will live over there and they'll work over here because it pays so much higher. Our minimum wage is so much higher. So there's a good amount of labor that will come from Idaho to our side that may not be able to afford to live here locally and do the bartending jobs or, whatever locally.
That's interesting because I had three owners actually, too, that have kind of public houses. They're bars, but they do more food. And we talked about Idaho having a server wage and Washington doesn't.
Right.
And they're like, we're so close to the border, it doesn't matter because all the servers from Idaho are coming over too.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to work over there.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it is. I mean, even if my favorite restaurant I go to, I don't go to the one here in Spokane because the meals are $5 more a plate. And, which they have to be because they're paying so much more for labor and taxes and property taxes.
And it's going up again.
Yeah, another $1 or something on the January. So, and people don't get that. They think, wow, we're getting another $1 raise. This is fantastic. Maybe we'll get caught up. Well, it doesn't work that way. You're getting $1 more, but so is your daycare. So is the grocery store folks that work there. So does everybody else is getting that $1 more. So you're actually getting less. When you think about, you got $1 more, but now the 20 people you're dealing with on a weekly basis, they're all getting $1 more. So now, they raise $10 an hour, let's say, kind of make it quick and logical. Now you just lost $10 to your one that you raised. So in reality, you're going downhill every time we raise this minimum wage.
It's like an emotional win, but it's not on paper a win.
Yeah, on paper it doesn't
feels better, but
yeah, you feel better, and then of course we end up sticking more taxes on you, and the Washington Cares and all these other things that Washington State seems to throw on your employers.
It's too bad that stuff like that couldn't be based on like the metropolitan statistical area. Like most things are based off the MSA, like median income, and
right.
It's too bad like minimum wage because I think maybe what they want to move minimum wage to in a place like Seattle isn't enough. But if you lived in a small town, like where you could rent a house for $400 a month or $500 a month, one of these little towns we have in Washington, then minimum wage is more than enough. But it's not enough here.
Well, and people don't really understand the real idea of minimum wage either. I mean, minimum wage is supposed to be for the young folks who are, 16, 17-year-old working at their first job, McDonald's or wherever, and setting a standard for them. I mean, do you really need $26 an hour if you're living with mom and dad in their basement, eating their food, they're driving their car, they're paying the insurance, no medical, and you're going to high school? I mean, wow.
You're getting your feet wet in the world. Yeah. So you have a roommate, like you don't have to afford rent on your own. That was always the conversation I liked. They're like, yeah, if, for me to have an apartment and this all on my own on minimum wage, it's like, but we didn't do that minimum wage. We had 2 or 3 roommates. We rented a house together. Like you had to learn to deal with people, live with people. Yep. You weren't allowed in your early 20s to live on your own. Either you had a girlfriend you lived with, boyfriend, or you had roommates.
Right. Well, now the challenge is that, when you force a business owner to pay everyone a higher wage like that, they can't now go and say, oh, I've got this single mom with 2 children. I want to give her, $3 more an hour. It just doesn't pencil out because they're having to pay everyone this higher wage, and that Johnny's living with his mom and dad in his, junior year in high school, doesn't need that money, and where the single mom does, but it just takes that flexibility away from the business owner at that point. And so, there should be, in my opinion, a living wage and a minimum wage, and it should be clearly defined at that point. Do you qualify for a living wage or do you qualify for a minimum wage? Because you're getting employers who don't even want to hire these young folks in high school or right out of high school and take the gamble because it's so expensive for them to hire those folks. So we're actually hurting our economy, I believe, with raising our minimum wage continuously. And we need to start thinking about it a little more logically.
Yeah, better training maybe, or teaching people. Again, like you said, that's not what minimum wage was created for. It wasn't created to raise a family on.
Yeah, or maybe we need to come up with a training wage, as you had mentioned, or maybe a server wage. Some of these other wages that our state could use and utilize to help businesses stay in business and offer. I mean, because I can tell you, most business owners want to hire young folks and train them and help them understand, you got to get up and clean up and, take your shower, brush your teeth, and come to work with your hair combed and start. This is how you get a job that pays well, that eventually moves into something much, much better as you get older. But it develops that character in you of getting up and going to work and taking care of a business. Mm-hmm. Well, now you're kind of forcing businesses' hands where they have a difficult time with that. So,
yeah. I mean, I'm full commission.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I manage, so there's something there. But right now, there's no money in management in real estate. Mm-hmm. But I've been full commission for a long, long time, and so having an assistant and needing to train somebody, it took me twice as much work every day to train them. Yeah. It would have been easier just to do it, but that's a diminishing return because if I just keep doing it, then I never have somebody trained. So it took me twice as long every day to get my work done because I was training somebody. And then you train them and they leave, or they could. So I understand.
I'm working on that one, the legislative age. It takes me, it's like I could make the phone call and be done with this in less than 5 minutes, but instead I'm going to sit here and text messages and phone calls to try and get my legislative aide to do what I would do in 5 minutes. It's going to take me half a day.
Yeah.
So I get it. But, now that we've been doing it for a while, they're up on it. It's making my life better. But it was
and
the
the
same,
business owners know that. Your small business owners, they're the ones struggling a lot. I know a lot of friends that own businesses, and there was always part of me that told people like the government doesn't want you to step outside of the box and own a business and go, I'm going to make $100,000 this year. They're like, make your 40 grand, have a baby, buy a house, put money in your 401k, stay in your lane, stay in a box. Yep. And we'll allow you to do this. One side of the government anyway. Mm-hmm. I always thought the Republican side was more supportive of small business owners and going, hey, go out, make money, open a business, do something, something more.
The problem is the narrative is that people don't trust the Republican Party to improve their communities. I mean, this is one thing. I just went to a retreat here earlier this week, Monday and Tuesday, and that was one of the things we actually talked about was what's the public's overall impression of the Republican Party, and they just think we're a bunch of old white guys smoking cigars and care about making billions of dollars, which is totally not the truth. I mean, I can just tell you the folks in the room where I was at, very few of them actually had any kind of wealth to speak of, and most of them are just people who honestly care a lot about their community and have better solutions. But that's not the narrative that the Democrat Party keeps pushing, is that they're the ones that care about the community and Republicans don't, which is not the truth at all. We actually have the forethought to care about the whole community instead of just a small demographic of it.
We require that you work for it.
Yeah, if you're able. So, that's the other thing is that's another mindset is people think that the Republican Party doesn't care about the disabled or, people who are unable to do a job. And that's not true. I actually supported a bill last year. In fact, I was one of the few Republicans that supported the bill that removed the cap on special needs folks in schools. Yeah. And so it kind of surprised me that there was actually a limit on the funding for special education. And so,
oh really?
Yeah, I didn't realize that. So I signed on to a bill as a co-sponsor actually of this bill that removed that limit. And actually that bill got changed a little bit, but it got passed. And so we upped the limit quite significantly of special education. But at the end of the day, once we had that discussion, that bill passed unanimously with every single Republican voting for it. Yeah. So it just was not a bill that they chose to champion immediately, but then once we had that discussion, how it helped our schools and helped our communities, it was like everybody was on board.
Yeah, I think if I ever got involved in politics, it would be Republican. Like you have to pick a side, right? And I probably test out more of like a libertarian, almost anarchist, like less government and do your own thing. Like if you gave me a questionnaire, that's probably fall more into that bucket. Mm-hmm. But libertarians don't win elections and and they don't get things done.
No, and the thing that surprises me we have some libertarians in our caucus, and to me it's a riot because the first ones we want property rights. We want to be able to do anything with our property we want to. The government shouldn't have any say in what I do with my property, but they seem to be the first ones to complain about lot splitting or
Yeah.
or
what your neighbors do.
Yeah, what your neighbors do with the property is like, aren't you supposed to be a libertarian? And everyone, wait a minute, I don't want my neighbor to have an RV in their yard. That's not libertarian, dude.
Yeah.
Well, as long as it's my neighbor, no, it's libertarian is libertarian.
Yeah.
You either want
That's what makes it hard for me too.
Yeah.
Like just not feeling every part of any one of them. But I think that's normal. I think some things you could be conservative on, some things you could be a little more liberal on. It depends on how you're raised as a human. But I definitely would fall into
more on the libertarian side, yeah.
Well, into the Republican Party.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, there's no doubt about it. I enjoy the Republican Party. Always has. I was raised a Democrat by my mom, to be honest with you, but was a single mom raised on public assistance, and so we were Democrats, which till I went in the military and found out no, I'm not a Democrat. Number one, the Democrats don't seem to support the military families, and I just thought that was uncalled for. And then as I got out of the military, it's just like, wait a minute. They care about the entire community, which is smarter solutions and helping people succeed with getting them a job and helping them keep more of that money and making so the businesses can hire more people. And then the other side of the coin is they just want to give everything away for free, but don't realize you can't give something away for free if you don't have it. So you have to be able to you can no longer take money away from let's say the business owners. To give it to the people who don't want to work, eventually you run out of money.
Well, it almost feels like the Democrats want a kingdom. Like we control all the money at the top and we will dole it out and give you what you need and we'll keep a lot of it and we'll give you some. It's like every program that's created, they're going to keep some for something and we'll give you a little. But it was that I have a lot of friends that are in that mindset and I don't even blame the people.
Right.
They're just because they've learned
that was my mom.
Stay in your lane, get a little bit of money, like don't try too hard. We're just going to tax you and you won't really make more at the end of the day after you're talking daycare and taxes. You may as well just take what we can give you and spend it at the gas station and we'll get it all back in our 50% tax that you spent there on cigarettes and Mountain Dew and chips. Like there's a reason there's a gas station on every corner because people that don't own cars walk to the gas station with whatever money they have. I have friends like, hey, can I borrow $20? They go in the gas station, they get like a hot dog, they get some chips, they get a soda and a pack of cigarettes and it's gone.
Wow. Yeah.
It's like, I'd rather just drive you to the grocery store. You can get like a bag of potatoes and a chub of hamburger and you could eat for 3 days, not just a snack that's going to keep you full for, half an hour.
I was shocked. I went to McDonald's in Olympia and I ordered just breakfast. It was a real simple breakfast with orange juice and it was nothing special. And it was $18.
Yeah.
Like, holy smokes, when did McDonald's come $18,
I haven't eaten out since, my allergies. I have terrible allergies, so I haven't eaten fast food since 2006. Yeah. So I have like no idea what things cost. But I had an agent I was doing an open house with, and she's like, hey, would you, grab me a sandwich, a sub sandwich at this place? And I said, sure. And it was like $9 for like a 6-inch sandwich or something, like just a veggie. It's like a veggie sandwich with no avocados even. She goes, no avocados, just their veggie. And it was still like $9. And I was like, that's crazy.
That is crazy. But that's what's happening when you raise the minimum wage. You raise everything else. And that's when people don't realize, that, I got $1 more an hour, but my sandwich is $2 more an hour.
Well, and the owners lose money. My friends that own,
absolutely.
Bars and restaurants, they're like hot wings. Everybody wants hot wings, but we lose money on hot wings.
Okay.
Like 1,000%. They're like, it's a loss leader.
Right.
We're expecting you to drink more or something when you get the hot wings, so you order more alcohol.
It's got to be more salty and hot so you can order more alcohol. Right, yeah.
Because they're like, for what we have to pay for hot wings and what we can charge, we lose money.
And that's what people don't understand is you can only charge so much money for a waffle in the morning, your local breakfast restaurant. You can only charge so much. People are only going to tolerate it to certain limits. So eventually they're going to lose money.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, so Spokane, this is a question I had.
Sure.
So it seems you and I have talked about Spokane homeless and the need for more mental health facilities and help in Spokane. Now, my assumption, and this is what I've told people, and you'll know better than me if I'm wrong or not, But I was always under the impression that if somebody got out of a mental hospital after a long stay, or somebody got out of prison that had mental issues, because prison are
Right,
basically mental health institutions, it seems like, after a long stay, if the state has to take care of them or put them up somewhere, a halfway house, or
Yeah.
get them set, they ship them here rather than ship them to Seattle
Oh, absolutely.
because it's cheaper to bring them here and it costs them less money to place them here and put them here than it does to put them in Seattle. Is that fair?
It's very fair. It's very. We continuously get
assumption.
people from the west side bussed over to here and released over in our community.
Yeah.
They've never been part of our community before. Now they've been released into our community. Happens every day.
And then you have a bunch of, frozen homeless. It gets negative something here. It doesn't get that cold in Seattle.
No, it doesn't get that cold. And then we have challenges here with, I don't think you know much about this, but something called red lighting. When the jail is so full, they no longer can accept anybody at all. They're over all limits. And so the law enforcement officer is literally sitting in their vehicle with somebody waiting. So instead of them being on the street and protecting the citizens and doing what they're paid for, they're sitting there in the parking lot with somebody in the back seat of the car for their entire shift, 8-10 hours
Waiting
shift.
just to get them in and then get them right back out.
Right, but the only way it happens literally is for the jail to release somebody to be able to put somebody in. And so, they've got to do all the paperwork, get the judge in and, go through the bail hearing, whatever, to put somebody back on the street. And so a friend of mine did that ride along and I did too, but luckily my time, they weren't on red light, but theirs was. So they went and literally sat at the jail. They were there for, I think she said 5 or 6 hours just sitting in front of the jail. She was like, "This is your ride along?" Yep. And eventually the sergeant called and just said, "Release your person out of the back seat because we need you back on the street."
Yeah.
So that's, that person just got out. So then we have a measure one to build a new jail. And I wasn't supportive of it just simply because we'd have less jail beds when it was done than when we started the process. So I don't think it was a wise use of the money. And I think the voters caught on to that as well. If we, in my own thoughts, is we need to build a community correctional facility that's large enough that gives us more beds, that is not downtown Spokane, and is basically a model that's adjustable. So if we need more mental health or we need more jail beds, we're able to say move walls or fences, however you want to put it. It's all in the same area, and we're able to move to meet the needs of the community. So
And we have plenty of cheap land just a little bit further out.
we do, absolutely we do.
It doesn't have to be right downtown.
It does not. In fact, I think there's some really nice spots right off the Medical Lake exit there where they put in the new training center for law enforcement. Wouldn't hurt having it out there.
Mental health is the big one because I think
is. It is.
I really think it between Seattle and Spokane, Tri-Cities, Moses Lake, but there's not a lot of areas I think that have the kind of mental health facilities that we have or Seattle has. There's really not a lot in between.
Right.
They can do a little bit, but not a lot. Spokane's kind of a medical hub, so to speak. I would say more so than anywhere in between here and Seattle. So that this is where they come. Everybody's like, why, do we have so many homeless? It's like, well, it's a mental health issue, but.
Well, I think it's the old adage, build it and they will come. And so the more money we spend on it and the more we try and make it pleasant, the more people show up.
Blessings Under the Bridge was that way.
Yeah.
You had 5 tents and then people started bringing food and then they created Blessings Under the Bridge like a nonprofit. And then at 5 turned into 20 turned into 50, and then they had to bring in porta potties because, and then when so many people came, that's when you started getting the stabbings and the rapes and the shootings and the drugs and the violence.
Yeah,
Because nobody's regulating, right? It's not an egalitarian world where everybody follows the rules and.
Well, and the challenge with that is the more that these nonprofits can, bring on board. So that, if we go from 5 to 10 to 20 to, to 40 people, they make more money from the state by the more people they're servicing. And so it's almost, and I hate to say it, but it's an incentivized program for the nonprofits to find more folks to be, homeless or, help their clientele, let's say, or find more mental health because then there's more money into it from the state. So you can say, hey, look, it's our big problem. Well, I was actually in a fast food restaurant earlier this year, and this gentleman was on the phone. You could clearly tell he was homeless, talking to people back, literally back east, saying, you got to come to Spokane. This place is great. They give you everything. I mean, I'm listening to this phone call conversation, and I think they said they were in Ohio or something, or it was some big city anyway, back east. And he was just talking to his buddy, and I'm just in line listening to him talk, telling him how great Spokane is, and that we give everything away over here. That that you just got to get on a bus and come here to Spokane. I'm thinking that is the wrong message.
Well, and my thought's always been the rules are created to protect the innocent, not punish the guilty. It's better to let a guilty person go free than it is to put an innocent person in jail. So you're going to have the rules stacked in a way to where that you will have a certain level of abuse.
Yeah.
Like people are going to be able to abuse programs, because if you made the program so strict that nobody could abuse it, then you wouldn't help anyone. It would take people weeks or months to jump through hoops to try and figure things out. And I've seen that a lot in our senior community in housing.
Yeah.
When the prices started going up, and they've been paying $500 a month in rent for 20 years to a friend. Their friend passes, and the grandkids get the house and like, oh, it's a good time to sell. So they sell it, and they have nowhere to go.
Right.
Because they don't make 3 times the rent. They can't afford $1,200 or $1,300. It's like you could go to HUD housing and live somewhere that they're going to be unsafe and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do we do? I mean, 2020, I had a string of senior citizens on fixed income across my desk trying to buy a house. And I'm like, you can't.
Yeah.
You don't make anywhere near enough, and we can't rent either. And I'm like, what do we do? And I'm like, they're crying. And I'm like, I guess you have to leave.
You have to leave Spokane, which is wrong. Their families are here, and
you have to go somewhere smaller. Go to Lewiston, maybe even smaller than that, but you're not going to be able to stay here,
right,
and live on that fixed income.
Yeah, and the challenge is that you've got our incoming folks into the Spokane city. They're very much for rent control, and I actually get emails consistently weekly on people asking for rent control, but they don't think of the overall effects of rent control, because if a landlord, if a building owner made an investment and they can't make market rent out of it or something close to that, they're not going to invest their money in Spokane.
They're going to stop doing it.
They're going to stop doing it. And so what happens is then you have less houses, and then when you have less of a supply, your rent will go up. And basically what will happen is they'll be turning those people over so they can raise the rent, and you're going to see the very, very folks that need the help the most, that rent control would help, are going to be the ones that hurt the most.
Yeah. And then your bigger companies come in and own thousands of homes or thousands of apartment units, thousands of doors. And when something like rent control goes away, or when they have the ability to raise rent, they will.
They'll raise it, the maximum amount they can.
Yeah.
And so they're not in there to, help the people. They're in there to make an investment. And I get that. People don't realize that people in business are got in business because they're smart. They're going to figure out a way around the system.
Yeah.
Every single time, they're going to figure out a way.
Well, they'll have the money to wait it out.
Absolutely.
They have the money to wait out for the change. So we have a new mayor in Spokane, I guess, coming up.
Yeah.
How do you think that's going to go?
Well, I think Chief Meidel already is telling you how that's going to go by handing in his resignation the day that our current mayor leaves. I think you're going to find that everyone says Spokane's going to be like Seattle, and I don't think so. I think Spokane's going to be like Portland.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to skip the whole Seattle and go straight to the Portland model, from what I'm seeing.
Because it was never supposed to be like city council at that level. It's not supposed to be a partisan job, right?
Correct.
And so you're not really supposed to talk about partisan issues like they had years ago. They wanted to join the Paris Accord after Trump left the Paris Accord, and then they were going to sue the railroad for every coal or oil car they brought. So the railroad, which built Spokane, but also probably one of the biggest corporations in the world. And this little city council's like, we're going to sue the railroad. And I'm thinking, like, you got to be out of your mind.
Good luck with that, yeah.
We think we have a legal stance. We talked to our attorney, and it's sucking up to Big Brother is what it felt like. But I thought that was just the crazy idea. And I don't remember his name, but I didn't like him much. He sat on the city council. He was like the president of city council. He got on TV, and he said, well, this isn't a partisan issue. This is a city council issue because the roads are terrible because of the freezing and thawing, and that's due to global warming. And I'm thinking like, really? Like,
Yeah.
how could you draw a straight line to that? You know, so he said, this is my moral right to stand behind this because global warming is impacting our roads. It's like, no, because Spokane gets 4 seasons. So we use materials that are easy to fill in potholes because we're going to get potholes.
Right.
There's no way around it.
Well, and we don't spend the money sealing the roads and doing the maintenance that would save us money in the long run. So,
Yeah.
you know, because in that spending money that it's easier to spend the money to, as far as the public sees, fixing it instead of, preserving it so it doesn't ever happen. So
Yeah.
Spokane Valley does a great job of actually spending money on sealing roads, so you don't have the potholes, you don't have the major construction. So,
Yeah. I think I'm in the county here. I'm not in the Valley City.
correct.
But I remember when the Valley City kind of incorporated and and they were renting police and fire and plows. And then I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years in, the city of Spokane turned off the plows like the first big snow and said, no, do you remember that?
I do. So you are correct that the city of Spokane Valley is actually, they do everything they can, what they call a contract city. So if they can contract it out, they do their best. And so we don't have our own police force. It's actually contracted with the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
The much of the road plowing is contracted. Much of the road maintenance is all contracted. So, and even a lot of the parks. So, reality is when you do it yourself as a city, you have your employees, but you become the life of that employee. So not only their time working for the city, but their retirement, their medical, everything for their life. So it's very expensive when you consider the whole life of having your own staff.
Yeah.
Where if you're contracting out, you don't have that whole life. When the contract's over, the contract's over.
Yeah.
And so it's good, and it's a two-edged knife as far as I'm concerned. But it saves the city a whole lot, and in my opinion, you can continue to get the best for the citizens of your city.
Yeah. I agree. I just remember when, and I don't know if that was a contract negotiation for snow removal that
Yeah.
made them go, well, until you agree, you're going to pay us more, or we're not going to plow. It didn't hurt me that first couple of days because I have a truck. But,
Right.
Now we have people coming in from all over the country. I mean, I live out, in an area where, behind me, Morningside, the big subdivision, we have people in the winter trying to get up and down these hills in Porsches and rear-wheel drive Mustangs with no snow tires, and every winter everybody's slid off the road, and it takes you an hour to go a mile.
Yeah.
Because they're just not ready for the Northwest weather.
Yeah, they're not. They moved here from California with their Porsche, and what do you mean? It just doesn't do well in the snow. I mean, I had the same.
They do great if you have the right tires.
Yeah, they do okay. Yeah, I had a nice convertible up until a few years ago. Just realized that I was parking the thing, 3-4 months of the year, just sat inside of a plane hangar.
Yeah.
With bringing out the old truck, because the old truck did well. So the convertible wasn't going anywhere.
You got to have that 4-wheel drive.
Yep.
Well, so the Valley City Incorporation was due to the Yardley District, if I heard the story correctly. Like the city was going to annex that whole Yardley District into the city.
Yeah.
Because they've been providing water and waste management for years, and that's what kind of sped up the process of the Valley City incorporating itself.
Well, and I'm going to just tell you, Matt, I don't know all of that story because I was in the Air Force away from here until 2005, and all the Valley stuff happened, right around that time frame that I was getting out of the military.
That's what I heard. So Yardley's like where Costco and Home Depot is, but and I think the city wanted to annex it, but that was a good chunk of tax base.
Oh, absolutely,
and businesses for the Valley City, and they've been talking about it for a while. So it was kind of like,
didn't want to lose that. Yeah, a lot of times the Costco drives a lot of the annexation.
let's jump on in and figure it out.
I mean, that's why Costco moved out further on the north side, was strictly to get out of that city annexation. And the problem is the city annexed right down Division, up to Costco. They didn't take in the houses on either side. That money supported those roads and maintenance and snow plowing and services. So literally the city just went straight down Division and took in the Costco and took the money away from the county. So the county still had all of those residential neighborhoods, and now the money was just taken away from them. And so Costco got smart and moved further out. And of course, I bet you someday it'll then be incorporated out there as well.
Well, and a lot of the PUDs in town that have homeowners associations, the city's not plowing those roads either typically. That's
Right. Well, and most of the new roads that are in the county and the city that are being paved, they're forcing them to do private roads so that the citizens that are on those roads are actually responsible for the maintenance and the, improvements and the plowing and everything else.
I don't think that's a bad idea.
Yeah, in some respects it is, but I guess long term, it wouldn't be bad if the homeowners association stayed intact and
They don't. That's the
they don't.
problem.
They go away. They they unincorporate whatever
Yeah,
they
dissolve,
go away,
yeah.
dissolve, whatever, and then the money's not there, and then the road or the fence or whatever the common areas come along, and all of a sudden they need maintenance and why that homeowners association was established. Now all of a sudden you tell somebody, hey, I need you to kick in 50 grand because we have to repave the front road. How do they do that?
Yeah.
I'm not rich. Somebody says I need to pay 50 grand to redo my road. I'm going to be in tears because I just don't have it.
Yeah, it's like owning a condo, and I try and warn some of my younger buyers that buy condos. I said that's all fine and well, but remember you can have a special assessment. So if you
Yep.
get 10, people that are retired that have money in there and they want to replace the elevator,
Yep.
and there's only 12 units, guess what? You're paying, 1/12 of $100 and some $1,000. Like, could you come up with that money? I owned a condo. It was my first place, and I was the president of the condo association within the first year because I wanted to have some say and a little bit of control.
Right.
And they did that to me. And I was on the main floor, and I said, A, don't have a key to the elevator. B, doesn't help sell my unit.
Right.
And they're like, oh, yeah, but with all the units full, that helps everybody. I'm like, no, that's not what we're going to do here. And I almost had to hire an attorney to get out of paying for the cost of replacing the elevator. And it turned into like everybody on the first floor shouldn't have to pay for the elevator because we don't have access to it and it doesn't add value to our units.
Right.
I would go as far as to say I'm not replacing the roof because I'm not on the third floor and it's not over my unit. That's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, but I get it. Yeah. Well, I do appreciate you taking the time to have me in and talk.
Yeah.
And I'd like to come back and talk about what's going on as we get closer to session. So you asked earlier about my other jobs.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so we start, as far as the legislator goes, the Constitution requires that we start what's called a session, and that is where, the governor, we gavel in, and the governor comes and says, these are our priorities, and this is when we vote on bills and have committees.
Yeah.
And you go in different phases at that point. So we relocate to Olympia. I do, and my wife actually comes with me and all the other legislators as well. And we start on the second Monday of January, and it either goes for 60 days straight or 105 days. So this in 2023 is 105. Coming up 2024 will be 60 days. And so that's the time that the legislators actually do their real job. The rest of the time we're back in our home communities, learning and talking to constituents, businesses, and things like that. And so the session starts. We go over there, and that's when we do our real work. So we'll start doing committees where bills are introduced, and then people come and testify why that bill is good or bad for the community. And then it goes to we kind of shift spirits and go to the House floor, where we actually start voting on the bills that made it through committee. And then we'll shift back to committees where we'll take the Senate bills that made it off the floor in the Senate. And then while they're taking our bills, and then we'll shift back from committees back to the floor action, where we'll go back into long days and arguing and griping. And I mean, it was not uncommon to leave there at 2 a.m. just to be back at 9 to start the next session. And so, and a lot of that was just a matter of discussion on bills and why it's good or bad, and how do we improve it, or how do we try and stop it, or whatever. And then after that's over, you come back home and hate to say it, but start campaigning.
Yeah. Does it feel like a thankless job sometimes?
Probably more than you know.
More than people would think.
Yeah, because even people don't realize, they don't. A lot of people just want they want the government to work for them, and I get it. I mean, that's the job of the government, but it's got to work for everybody. And so maybe it will work well for you, maybe it won't work well for your neighbor, or mom or your dad or your kids. And so you get more complaints than I think you get pats on the back.
Yeah.
And so, and then, campaigning is a challenge too, because you got to go out and raise, $100,000 to have a competitive campaign. So And you got to, as a representative, we do that every other year. As a senator, you do every 4 years. So
That would be the hard part for me.
yeah, we're almost like begging for money every 2 years. It's quite the challenge, and you've got to run these races. And so, and everybody wants to take you out and take your job. And if they really saw the job, they may not want it.
That's true.
Yeah, it's a tough job.
Yeah, the campaigning would be hard.
It is.
The raising the funds would be hard. I guess if you were wealthy enough, you wouldn't have to do that, right?
Correct. Yeah, if you had the money, you obviously wouldn't have to, or you live in a district where you're nobody's going to run against you. That's that's a helpful. So there's
That's not
legislation.
going to happen here, though.
Not in my district. I guarantee you there will have probably more than one opponent for each position. So
Yeah.
it'll be challenging, but that's part of the fun as well. In some parts, I like it, to be honest with you. It keeps us grounded. People say, "Don't you hate running for campaign every year?" There's parts I hate, but there's parts I like. It forces me to actually go out in the neighborhood and talk to people, talk to businesses, find out what's going on. So if we didn't have to run, but every 4 years, maybe I wouldn't be that connected to the community. But you're forced to be connected to the community, which in the long, in hindsight is pretty nice.
Well, and at this level, there's a lot of opportunity to be at this level, and there's been a lot of people through this level. I read a statistic this morning that said there's only been like 2,000 senators ever,
Yeah,
like ever.
yeah,
Yeah,
It's-
I mean, in comparison, there's been like, this was another weird stat. Professional basketball, there's only been like less than 5,000 men that have played one game of professional basketball, and that was like from the 50s.
right.
We're talking senators. That goes a lot further back.
Yeah, when you walk down, something I always think about is when you walk down the halls of the Capitol, it's like there's very few people that have ever been in the position I'm in to walk down
Yeah.
these halls and have the access and have this job. It's just humbling in a way that
Yeah.
there's just how few ever make it to where you make it. To have your name in I got a bill passed in 2014 to have your name in the history books of Washington State.
Yeah.
It'll always be there forever. It's just very few people ever get to that
Well,
point.
you did it for the right reasons. Like you
Yeah.
saw something needed to change and something to be different. And like you said, to do that thankless job, you get something out of it. It feeds you, your purpose in a way. But still, you're not getting the pats on the back. You're always gonna, you do one thing wrong and 1,000 people talk about it. You do 1,000 things right, and nobody
Yeah.
says anything. Yeah.
We had saying in the Air Force, which it takes 100 attaboys to make up for 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's my job too. That's real estate as well.
Yeah. So, but I do think there's an easy way to fix it. I mean, Idaho, their representatives over there make $1,000 a month. That's it.
Yeah.
So they took all of the financial gain and reward out of this job by only giving $1,000 a month to the representatives. So the people are doing it there, not doing it for the money.
Well, city council too. Like
Yeah.
they don't make enough to just have that be their job.
Yeah, you have to have another job.
You have to have another job.
So in this, this job doesn't pay super well. I'm not going to kid you. It pays okay, but most people have to have another job or something.
Well, you have to have housing somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
but that can't be cheap, temporary housing, or you're going to have to own another house
Yep.
somewhere else. And then what happens if you decide not to run, or maybe there's an illness in the family, or somebody
Or you get taken out.
Somebody takes you out this year, then now you have a house over there that
Yeah.
you have to figure out, maybe rent it to the new guy. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think there's a lot of cost involved in getting involved, and even if you got to the level of senator, I don't think they make as much as people think.
No, not nearly as much as you think they do. We I'm not going to kid you. It's if you live a simple life and you have a good house payment, you probably could survive on this job and pay your basic bills. But
Yeah.
there's no way I could make.
I've had plenty of years in real estate where I made
Yeah.
more than the presidential salary.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's a fact. So you have to have a love for the people in your community and wanting
yeah.
to enact a change. And
In real estate this year, I'll easily make probably almost double what I make in the legislature in real
Yeah.
estate. So.
and it's a tough year.
And it's a tough year, and it's just because I started in 2005. I do the job right. I still stay in contact with people, and so it's a matter of those relationships, that sphere of influence that's kept me there.
Well, we can get back to a first-time buyer class when you get out of session.
Sounds
The
good.
state lifted their vaccine mandate earlier
Okay.
this year. They were requiring that the teachers be vaccinated, which I was like, I'm not
gonna do it.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, I got lifted earlier this year, so
Okay.
when you're ready and out of session. But I appreciate you coming on, man.
Well, thanks for having me.
It's been a long time since I've seen you, so
Yeah, really hope your podcast ends up doing well, reaching a lot of people. Looking forward
it'll
to being
be fun. You know, like with real estate where it is right now, being a little bit slower. I'm a guy that needs to just keep moving forward and find something with purpose.
Yep.
And this is going to be a ton of fun, just talking with my friends and with people I know and getting their opinions and just seeing if it holds water. Like I'd like people to have a voice and an unvarnished opinion. So,
all right.
but yeah, you know, and when you're ready to run again, I got a spot in my yard where you can
Looking forward to it.
pop a sign.
All right.
Appreciate you coming on.
You bet. All right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Leonard.
man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.